So very good evening to one and all. A happy evening. So today we are back with energy to start our session of Negotiable Instrument Act. Yesterday we have started the concept of negotiable instrument. We have dealt a few basics, and today we are going to look into some more essential elements of Negotiable Instrument Act. Okay. So before starting our session, today's power capsule is all about your group of friends and the network you have, because find a group of people who can challenge you, who can inspire you, so that you can spend a lot of time with them, because they are the persons who will bring change in your life. So the friend in the need is a friend in a need is a general caption, but a friend is a person who would inspire you to achieve your goals, who will help you to become successful in your life, whether in your profession or in your personal life. By inspiring you with many of good deeds or many of good elements. Okay, so please try to spend, they generally use the word, this particular word called as satsangatvam. Satsangatvam means having an association with good people, so that every day you try to listen very good words. By interacting with that particular group, you will learn so many new things, you will learn so many good deeds, so that you will also become a very, very positive person. Okay, so always every day, in order to bring some positivity in your lifestyle, spend some time in interacting with all good achievers, good persons, like who are successful persons and who have done many good deeds and many service activities. Try to interact with them and try to know how they became so successful in their life, how they are able to do their things so well and positively by being positive. So that if you try to do interact with them, you will also know very, very nice things and nice approaches towards your life, so that you can make your life happy. Okay, fine friends. So I hope everyone are daily, the power capsule is trying to share my views and my opinion of different perspectives in our life, just other than learning a subject or other than we sharing the knowledge related to the subject. These are general terms which are very, very important to know, because such groups, such friends will turn all your negative energy into positive energy, into a synergy. Okay, so fine. So with this, I will start today's session of Negotiable Instrument Act. And yesterday we have seen the basics of Negotiable Instrument Act. I hope everyone came back by looking that particular, listening to the video with all the necessary basics, so that we can continue the remaining aspects of the remaining topics in this particular Negotiable Instrument Act. Okay. Once again, before starting, this NI Act is one of the oldest act which was brought to India by Britishers, and it was actually commenced on 1st March 1881. It is applicable in India, and we still continue to follow it even after independence, from the date we formed our constitution. Okay, and this particular NI Act is applicable to whole of India. The currency and banknotes does not fall in the category of a negotiable instrument. Negotiable instrument covers only three important documents, legal documents. They are bill of exchange, promissory note, and check. The meaning of negotiable instrument means negotiability means transferability. Instrument means a legal document, okay, which is having some value. What is the importance of negotiable instrument, madam? Means it facilitates for credit transactions. Negotiable instruments helps for credit transactions, and to do the business in an effective way, it helps. Okay, so if a money is involved, you say there's a cash transaction. Without money, if you use these particular negotiable instruments, it facilitates for you to pay at a later date or a future date. So credit is helpful to do the business on a credit basis. Okay, so these are the basics, and we have also seen few characteristic features of negotiable instruments. Okay, there are freely transfer. Negotiable instrument is freely transferable from one person to another person n number of times. Madam, then there will be a maturity date. No, madam, even after maturity date also you can transfer. Madam, yes, you can transfer until the primary debtor makes the payment on the instrument, it will be keep on transferring even after the maturity date also. Okay, generally the person who holds the negotiable instrument and who have right to claim the amount on the negotiable instrument is called as holder. Evan పిలుస్తామండి అతన్ని హోల్డర్ అని పిలుస్తాం. మేడం మరి హోల్డర్ ఇన్ డ్యూ కోర్స్ అని ఎప్పుడు అంటామంటే the same person if he satisfies three basic qualities as said by negotiable instrument act. ఒక హోల్డర్ ఇన్ డ్యూ కోర్స్ గా అవ్వాలంటే మూడు ఇంపార్టెంట్ బేసిక్ క్వాలిటీస్ ఉన్నాయి. అతను సాటిస్ఫై చేయాల్సిన క్వాలిటీస్ ఏంటంటే he should take the instrument in good faith. in good faith అంటే ఏంటో తెలుసామా? దొంగతనం కాకుండా, ఇల్లీగల్ మీన్స్ లో కాకుండా, ఫోర్జరీ కాకుండా he have to take it in a good way, in a legal way గా అతని దగ్గరికి ఇన్స్ట్రుమెంట్ రావాలి. దట్ ఈస్ వై యూ టర్మ్ ఇట్ యాజ్ a good faith. He should take the instrument in good faith, means not in illegal means, not by forgery or not by any theft. Okay, and he should take the instrument before maturity. maturity date కన్నా ముందే అతని దగ్గర ఇన్స్ట్రుమెంట్ ఉండాలి. ఓకే, and he should take the instrument for consideration. ఫ్రీగా తీసుకోకూడదండి. ఇక అతను ఏదైనా డబ్బు ఇచ్చో లేకపోతే ఏదైనా గూడ్స్ కొనుక్కోను అతనికి ఆ ఇన్స్ట్రుమెంట్ రావాలి. ఈ మూడు క్వాలిటీస్, ఆల్ దీస్ త్రీ ఇంపార్టెంట్ క్వాలిటీస్ షుడ్ బి సాటిస్ఫైడ్ బై దట్ పర్టికులర్ పర్సన్ ఇన్ ఆర్డర్ టు గెట్ ఎన్ name or in order to get a brand of holder in due course. holder ki holder in due course ki this is a major difference amma. holder in due course avvadam valla ataniki ఆ పర్టికులర్ పర్సన్ కి చాలా ప్రివిలేజెస్, అడ్వాంటేజెస్ ఉన్నాయి. అవేంటో మనం కూడా తెలుసుకుందాం. వాట్ ఆర్ ద అడ్వాంటేజెస్ ఫర్ అ హోల్డర్ ఇన్ due course. Okay, so these are the basic things. And when you come into the each and every one negotiable instrument, okka negotiable instruments vachesariki what are the parties of the negotiable instruments, and we will discuss in depth what is that particular negotiable instrument in the last class. Already discuss chesesam kani malli inkokkasari chepta nenu. In case of a promissory note, okay, so fine. First, promissory note అనేది when do we prepare? When the importance of promissory note comes. Promissory note అన్న ఒక particular aspect, the negotiable instrument will come in a situation where a person is borrowing money from somebody else. ఒక ఫైనాన్షియల్ ఇన్స్టిట్యూషన్ నుంచి కానీ, ఒక ఇండివిజువల్ నుంచి కానీ మనీ బారో చేస్తున్న సందర్భంలో ఈ ప్రామిసరీ నోట్ అనే దాన్ని ఒక లీగల్ డాక్యుమెంట్ ని ప్రిపేర్ చేస్తారండి. ఓకేనా? సో ఇట్ విల్ యాక్ట్ యాజ్ ఎ proof or acknowledgement that the lender had given money to that particular person and the borrower had borrowed money. Therefore, NIA ఏం చేస్తుందంటే all these proofs should be in a written form only. Oral acceptance is not at all valid. Oral negotiable instrument is not valid. Mandatorily it should be in a written form. As we have told in Companies Act, prospectus అనేది కంపల్సరీగా written form లో ఉండాలి అని చెప్పుకున్నాం కాబట్టి, ఓకే, even this particular negotiable instrument also should be in a 1 minute. Okay, just a minute. Just a minute, a small interruption. Okay, so the negotiable instrument. Okay, so small interruption, friends. Okay, I'm going to continue now. And where we are, fine. So negotiable instrument should also be in a written form. Therefore, it is mandatory for the negotiable instruments to be in a written form. Okay, now when you come to promissory note, how many parties are there in promissory note? Okay, in promissory note comes in a situation where the amount is borrowed. I have explained that particular point. Okay, the person who is giving the loan is called as lender. The person who have borrowed the money is called as a borrower or a debtor. Okay, ఎవరైతే అమౌంట్ బారో చేస్తారో, అప్పు తీసుకుంటారో వాళ్ళని డెటార్ అంటామండి. ఎవరైతే అప్పు ఇస్తారో వాళ్ళని మనం ఏమని పిలుస్తామని చెప్పాము, లెండర్, క్రెడిటార్ గా అంటాం. ఓకే, in this particular case of promissory note, person who is preparing the promissory note is called as a maker of the promissory note. That is debtor who borrowed the money will prepare the promissory note and take the money. The person who is giving the money is called as a payee. Okay, so these are the important, maker and payee. Whose signature is important on promissory note? Maker's signature is important on promissory note, because it is a proof that he took the money from that particular individual and he is going to pay on that particular specific date which is mentioned on the promissory note. Okay, so this is all about promissory note. Okay, so let us see once how this promissory note is like how it will be and where we have to keep the stamp, all that, those aspects I have shown yesterday, but still once again let me show you this particular slide regarding a promissory note. Okay, these all we have seen. See here. See the promissory note. Okay, it is in written form. Stamp is compulsory for promissory note. Yes, stamp is also compulsory for a promissory note. And the person who's taking the money should mandatorily specifically mention in writing that I promise to pay. I acknowledge my indebtedness. నేను అప్పున్నానని చెప్తున్నాను, నేను పే చేస్తానని చెప్తున్నాను అని స్పెసిఫిక్ గా అతను రిటర్న్ ఫామ్ లో మెన్షన్ చేసి సైన్ అనేది man whose signature is important on promissory note is maker signature. So this is all about promissory note. Next, when it comes to a bill of exchange, in case of a bill of exchange, you have generally you have here also two parties. If bill of exchange is a concept to a situation lo vastudi, during what situation for what transaction the bill of exchange will affect, because bill of exchange is comes in the transaction of sale and purchase. When you are purchasing on credit basis, the concept of bill of exchange arises. Promissory note concept arises when you are borrowing money. Bill of exchange concept arises when you are purchasing on credit basis. Okay. Generally, the person who is selling, you call him as a seller. The person who is buying the goods on credit, you generally call him. Either he can buy on credit, లేదా cash basis మీద కూడా అతను కొనుక్కోవచ్చు. ఓకే, ఆ బయర్ ని మనం కొనుక్కునేవాడిని పర్చేసర్ గాని బయర్ గాని అంటామండి. ఓకే, అయితే ఈ పర్టికులర్ ఎంఐ ఏమంటుందంటే ఎవరైతే గూడ్స్ ని అమ్ముతారో, the person who is selling the goods should prepare the particular bill of exchange, because he is the person who is selling the good, and once the bill is prepared by the seller, the bill will be shown to the buyer. Okay, bill seller, wherever to any shop you go, the shopkeeper only will give you the bill. We will not prepare the bills. Okay, the purchaser or the customer will not prepare the bills. Shopkeeper only will prepare the bills. Akkada shopkeeper bill prepare chesi aa particular bill ni mana buyer ki manaki purchaser ki chubistadandi, and in this particular bill it will be written that this particular purchaser is going to pay the money after few days or after few months. Okay, as on the request made by the buyer. Okay, so buyer asked to purchase the good, buyer wanted to purchase the goods on credit. The time will be fixed accordingly in between them as per their agreement. So here the seller will prepare the bill and the buyer will see the bill and he will accept. Okay, fine, seller, whatever you have written in the bill, I am accepting to it. Therefore, whose acceptance is required in case of bill of exchange? Purchaser, buyer, that is debtor's acceptance is required. He will accept it and he will sign it. Acceptance అన్న వర్డ్ రాసినా రాయకపోయినా ఖచ్చితంగా సైన్ అనేది చేయాలి. Signing by the buyer itself is an indication that he has accepted for the credit sale. Understood? Okay, signing by the acceptor is an indication by the buyer that he is accepting for the credit sale, and he will pay in after few days or in a future date. Okay, understood? So in this particular case, the seller who is drawing or preparing the bill is called as drawer of the bill, and the person who is accepting, the buyer who is accepting the bill is called as acceptor or drawer. Two names for him. He is also called as acceptor as well as drawer. Now in case of bill of exchange, there are two parties there, that is drawer and acceptor or drawer and drawer. Whose signature is important in case of bill of exchange? Buyer signature. Buyer sign చేస్తేనే acceptance కింద లెక్క వస్తుందండి. ఎందుకంటే అతను సంతకం పెట్టకపోతే సెల్లర్ రేపు ఫ్యూచర్ డేట్ లో నువ్వు నాకు కడతానన్నావు అన్న దానికి ప్రూఫ్ ఏమీ ఉండదు కదా. అందుకని సైన్ ఇట్ సెల్ఫ్ ఈస్ ఎ ప్రూఫ్ దట్ ఈస్ యాక్సెప్టింగ్ ఫర్ ద క్రెడిట్ సేల్. సో సిగ్నేచర్ ఈస్ మ్యాట్ ఇన్ ఆల్ ద త్రీ నెగోషియబుల్ ఇన్స్ట్రుమెంట్. Without the signing of the debtor, the instrument would become void. Therefore, sign of debtor is very, very important in all the three cases of the negotiable instruments. Okay, so we have seen in case of a promissory note, we have seen in case of a bill of exchange, and check also I have explained. Once I'll tell you the parties, so that all remaining aspects I have told in the last class. So please, you can go in details to those topics referring to that particular video. And in case of check, we have three parties. So promissory note, maker and payee; bill of exchange, drawer and drawee; and in case of a check, they are drawer, drawee, and payee. Madam, the person who generally we all will have checkbooks. Whoever have account in the bank will have checkbooks. Okay, you all know that. The person who wants to make the payment through check, the person who want to make the payment through check is called as a drawer. Okay, that particular person is called as a drawer. Okay, and who the drawer's bank or the purchaser's bank will credit the account of the purchaser. Okay, therefore that particular bank, paying bank, is called as a drawee. And finally, ఎవరైతే డబ్బులు తీసుకుంటారో, ఎవరైతే చెక్ ని ఎన్కాష్ చేసుకుంటాడో, దట్ పర్టికులర్ పర్సన్ ఇస్ కాల్డ్ యాజ్ ఎ పేయీ. సింపుల్ గా చెప్తానండి, చెక్ ఇచ్చే వాళ్ళని, చెక్ ప్రిపేర్ చేసి సైన్ చేసి తను కొనుక్కున్న వస్తువుకి చెక్ ఇచ్చే వాళ్ళని డ్రాయర్ అంటాము. ఏ బ్యాంక్ అయితే డ్రాయర్ తరఫున, ఎస్బీఐ అయితే ఎస్బీఐ, ఆంధ్ర బ్యాంక్ అయితే ఆంధ్ర బ్యాంక్, ఆ చెక్ ఉన్న స్పెసిఫిక్ బ్యాంక్ పేరు ఉంటుంది కదా, వాళ్ళు ఎవరైతే పేమెంట్ చేస్తారో ఈ డ్రాయర్ తరఫున చెక్ కి సంబంధించిన పేమెంట్ చేస్తారు, దట్ బ్యాంక్ ఇస్ కాల్డ్ హియర్ యాజ్ ఎ డ్రాయీ. And who will receive the payment through check is called as a payee. Okay, so these all are very, 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 very important parties to a check. Okay, so all these three instruments should be mandatorily in writing only. Okay, and in case of these three instruments, stamp is important only for what type of instruments? Promissory note and bill of exchange. Check, there is no stamping at all. For check, we need not give any stamp. Okay, so these three are very, very important instruments, the basics which we have seen in the last class. Before actually getting into the next topic, let me discuss few practical, few true or false. Yesterday someone is asking regarding this true or false. Let me first discuss them, then we will go for the remaining part. Okay, here there is, in this particular true or false, they are saying that is a check a time instrument. Generally, I told you, in case of bill of exchange, promissory note and check, bill of exchange and promissory note are both time as well as demand instruments. But check is always a time instrument. You know, in case of a check, you will not mention that payment will be made after 3 months or payment will be made after 20 days. No. Once you sign the check and you mention the date on the check, it means that whenever the particular purchaser present the check in the bank, when he goes to the bank and he present the check, he can encash the money. Okay, otherwise if it is a crossed check, means he can get within few days the amount, he cannot encash directly, but amount will be directly credited in his account. That is why check is never a time instrument. In case of check, payment will not be made after few months or after few days. That is not at all possible in case of a check. Only in case of a bill of exchange and promissory note, they are also called as time instruments as well as demand instruments, because in those cases the payment will be made after few months or after few days. But in case of a check, payment will be made only on demand by presenting the check at the bank. Therefore, check is a time instrument means false. Understood? That's the first true or false. Next means true. Simply, like if they ask you to write true or false, write true or false. Or if they ask you to explain, then you have to explain that check is a demand instrument. It is not a time instrument. Okay. Next one. I promise to pay rupees 5,000 or rupees 7,000 to Mr. Ram. Is it valid promissory note? No. Why? Because in that particular, when we are reading about the characteristic features of promissory note, they have clearly specified that the amount should be certain. You cannot have any dilemma, confusion regarding how much you have to pay. There is no approximate amounts also. I have mentioned you already. మనం ఎంత పే చేయాలనేది ఖచ్చితంగా అమౌంట్ ని మెన్షన్ చేయాలి. నాకు తెలుసు, నాకు డౌట్ గా ఉంది, 5,000 పే చేయాలా, 10,000 పే చేయాలా, లేకపోతే నాకు డౌట్ గా ఉంది ఎక్కడో 6,000 పే చేయాలని, అటువంటి డౌట్స్ ఏమి పనికిరావమ్మా. ఇక్కడ అటువంటి కన్ఫ్యూజన్స్ ఏమి పనికిరావు. ఖచ్చితంగా ఎంత అమౌంట్ పే చేయాలో అంత అమౌంట్ మెన్షన్ చేయాల్సిందే. అర్థమవుతుందా? Therefore, such statements written in promissory note makes the promissory note invalid. Understood? Third one. I promise to pay Mohan rupees 500 if he secures 50 marks in the examination. Is it valid or not? Don't you think that this particular sentence is having some condition for payment? Okay, is conditional payment valid in case of a negotiable principal? In all three negotiable principles, NIAC says that conditional payments are not valid at all. Understood? There is no conditional conditions anedi undakoodu. Therefore, there are unconditional statement. Promissory note is an instrument in writing containing an unconditional order. No conditions are accepted in case of negotiable instrument. Only one condition is accepted, which is certain to happen. I have already told you that is in case of a death. Okay. So this condition is not, therefore this is also not a valid promissory note. Okay. Next, Mr. Sonu, I owe you rupees 500. So in the promissory note, if you simply write that in a briefer words, if you simply mention that I owe you, or I took a loan of 500. This is not a valid promissory note. You know why? Because Negotiable Instrument Act is saying the person, whoever is writing a promissory note, should specifically mention these words. ఈ వర్డ్స్ ని ఖచ్చితంగా వాడు చెప్పాలంటే ఏం వర్డ్స్ చెప్పాలి మేడం అంటే ఖచ్చితంగా హీ షుడ్ సే దట్ ఐ ప్రామిస్ టు పే, నేను పే చేస్తాను, నేను ప్రామిస్ చేస్తున్నాను పే చేస్తానని, ఐ అక్నాలెడ్జ్ మై ఇండెటెడ్నెస్, నేను ఒప్పుకుంటున్నాను అప్పున్నానని, ఖచ్చితంగా ఇన్ని నెలల తర్వాత పే చేస్తానని నేను ఒప్పుకుంటున్నాను అన్న వర్డ్స్ ని కంపల్సరీగా యూజ్ చేయమని ఎన్ఐ చెప్తోందమ్మా. అలా కాకుండా సింపుల్ గా ఈ పదాన్ని వాడితే దట్ ఇస్ నాట్ ఎ వ్యాలిడ్ ప్రామిసరీ నోట్ అని చెప్తున్నారండి. ఓకేనా? అది నెక్స్ట్ ఇయర్ ఫిఫ్త్ కేస్, పి ప్రామిస్ టు పే క్యూ రూపీస్ 5,000 3 months after Q's marriage with R. Okay, so here they are keeping a condition of marriage, so this is also not a valid promissory note. So whatever condition other than death are not at all valid, they would not make the promissory note valid. Sixth one, I promise to pay 3,000 to Ravi after 15 days after the death of A. Okay, so here the death of A is certain to happen. It might happen after, I mean, like, we don't know when it will happen because it's in the hands of the God. So in the promissory note, in this particular case of death, which would happen in sometime in future, which is certain to happen, therefore it is valid promissory note, they are saying. Okay, this is act have defined. There is no specific application. Madam, why so rude, madam? Only death is acceptable, madam. And yes, because it is told by act, not by us. Okay, not by me or not by anybody else. Okay, we have to learn the same way. In a promissory note, the promise to pay must to be conditional. No, they should, promissory note promise to pay should not be conditional. It must not be conditional. If it is conditional, it is not valid. Okay, so in this way, if they ask you, I mean, like, what are these, if they ask you in this particular whether it is true or false, if they give you like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 points, say whether there is a valid promissory note or not, it's better for you to explain in 1 or 2 sentences. Explain, then write true or false. Don't directly write true or false. Okay, so we have to be very, very important when you are trying to write all these statements. Okay, we have to listen and we have to read carefully and try to analyze. Here, this 8th one, a bill of exchange may not be in writing. Is it valid? No, false, because all the negotiable instruments like bill of exchange, promissory note, check, everything should be in writing only. Without writing, it is not valid at all. Oral acceptance given by the drawee is valid in law of bill of exchange? No. Just now I have explained, in case of bill of exchange, the acceptance is given by drawee by his putting his signature on the bill. ఓకే, ఓరల్ యాక్సెప్టెన్స్ చెల్లుతుందా? డ్రాయి చెప్పిన ఓరల్ యాక్సెప్టెన్స్ చెల్లుతుందా అంటే చెల్లదమ్మా. ఎందుకంటే డ్రాయి అన్నవాడు యాక్సెప్టెన్స్ ఇచ్చాడు అంటే ఖచ్చితంగా ఇచ్చినట్టుగా అతనికి సంతకాన్ని మెన్షన్ చేయాలి. Therefore, signature of the drawee is important. Okay, 10th one I'll explain you later, and 11th one also I'll explain you later. Let us see the 12th point. The 10th and 11th we have to discuss few more topics, then we will come to that whether it is true or false. The maximum validity period of check is 3 months at a. The maximum validity period of check is 3 months. Is it true or false? Yes. The check, oka check ni manam prepare chesi evarikaina oka check ni manam hand over cheste drawer, the validity he could encash it within a period of 3 months. The validity period of check is 3 months only. Okay, these are the important elements. The few things until now, we discuss aspects low. All these points we have seen. Okay, so okay, so one more topic is there. I will just now. Case study 2. Case study 1 we will discuss later on. Now let us discuss first case study 2. Then we will go into the chapter again. Say whether the following persons are holders of negotiable instrument or not. Okay, they're asking you to tell whether they are holder or not. They're not asking you to say whether he is a holder in due course or not. Okay, you should say whether the following persons are holders or not. In order to become a holder of the instrument, you should possess the instrument. He should possess the instrument. Okay, then you should have the right to receive the money from the instrument. These are the basic things as defined in the Negotiable Instrument Act. X who obtains a check drawn by Y by way of gift. Okay, so Y is gifting X the check. Okay, this is a gift check. Is it valid? Yes. X can be called as a holder? Yes, because he took the check from Y by way of gift. Therefore, it is valid. X you can call it as a holder because he took the instrument without consideration is also. He didn't give any consideration, but since it is birthday or it is his marriage celebrations, therefore Y has gifted him a check. Is it? Yes, it is valid. And X you can call him as a holder. You cannot call him as a holder in due course. You know why? Because he did not take the instrument for consideration. In order to satisfy the criteria of holder in due course, he should take the instrument for consideration. Here he is getting the instrument for free because it is a gift check. Remember, okay? Case 2. Here in this particular case, you have to write X have taken the check as a gift, that is without consideration. Still will be called as a holder of the instrument. Okay, that is the answer. Next, A, the payee of a check who is prohibited by the court order from receiving the amount of the check. Okay, A, payee in the sense a holder of the check. There is some litigation or some case which is running in the court. Therefore, court asked him temporarily stop collection of amount from the check. Therefore, during the court order time, even though he possesses check, you cannot call him as a holder of the check because he have no right to encash. Okay, because court asked him temporarily stop collecting amount from check because there is some case pending in the court. Even though he's having the check, he cannot encash the amount. He have no right over the encashment. Therefore, he cannot be called as a holder. In order to be called as a holder, he should hold the instrument. At the same time, he have right to encash it. If both things are possible, then you can call him as a holder. Next, M, who finds a check payable to bearer on road and retains it. M, finder of lost goods. Okay, generally he holds the check, but it is not his. He doesn't have any good title, but still he holds the check. And it is a bearer check. Bearer check is a kind of a blank check. Therefore, he can encash it. Right to claim money is also possible in this case. Therefore, M is a holder of the check. M, who gets the check because he holds the check, at the same time he also have a right to claim it because it is a bearer check. Bearer crossed check anukondi, he cannot encash it. Therefore, you cannot call him as a holder of the check because he doesn't have right to claim money over that particular instrument. Therefore, in this particular case, M, you can call him as a holder of the check. Okay. D point. B, the agent of C. Who is B here? The agent of C. He is entrusted with an instrument without any endorsement by C. Who is a payee? Actually, the instrument is C's. A particular negotiable instrument CD. తను ఏం చేశాడు, తన పక్కన ఉన్న ఏజెంట్ ని ఒకసారి ఊరికినే పట్టుకో అని ఇచ్చాడు ఇన్స్ట్రుమెంట్ ని. ఊరికినే ప్లీజ్ కీప్ ఇట్ విత్ యూ అని ఇచ్చాడు. ఓకే, నౌ టెల్ మీ, కెన్ యూ కాల్ బి యాజ్ అ హోల్డర్ ఆఫ్ దట్ ఇన్స్ట్రుమెంట్? అంటే పట్టుకో అనిస్తే హోల్డర్ అయిపోతాడమ్మా? నో, బికాస్ he does not have any right to claim money on that particular instrument. In this particular case, B is just acting as an agent just to hold that particular instrument. He does not have any right to claim money from that particular instrument. Therefore, B is not called as a holder of the instrument in this particular case. Understood? Okay, very, very important point. In order to become a holder, you need to satisfy 2 points. Number 1 point is he should possess the instrument. And second point is he have a right to claim money. He have right to encash that particular instrument. Then only you can call him as a holder. In this particular case, he is just holding like an agent. He is not a holder of the instrument. B, who steals a blank check of A and forges A's signature. This entire act is illegal. I told you in Companies Act also, in Indian Contract Act, any transaction involving forgery or void ab initio, and it totally becomes void from beginning, and it is illegal activity. And here, illegal activities are not considered. Therefore, B is not a holder of the instrument. Okay. B, he stole the blank check and he did the forgery there. Okay, in this total activity is illegal. Any transaction, even in case of Companies Act, even in case of Indian Contract Act, even in case of negotiable instrument, and more cases, so any transaction involving forgery are void ab initio. They are illegal and they are not valid. Now you cannot call him here in this particular E point. B is not the holder of the instrument. See, understood now? In each and every, there are variations in each and every instance. So whether this particular person can be called as holder or not, you have to decide basing on the consequences of the situation. ఒక్కొక్క కేసులో ఒక్కొక్క సెంటెన్స్ ఒక్కొక్క సిచ్యువేషన్ ఉంది. ఆ సిచ్యువేషన్ బట్టి ఆ క్రైటీరియా సాటిస్ఫై అవుతుందో లేదో చెక్ చేసుకొని we will decide. We have to write. You cannot directly say yes, he is a holder, no, he is not a holder. You cannot say. You have to give a genuine explanation in 1 or 2 sentences. 1 or 2 sentences of explanation ఇచ్చిన తర్వాతే you can claim whether he is a holder or not. Okay, so these are the few cases which I thought I would explain you before jumping into the next topic of Negotiable Instrument Act. Okay, we have already seen this particular aspect yesterday. Are these particular persons, they have capacity to involve in this particular negotiable party transaction? We have discussed whether minor is competent to enter in the contract. Means minor cannot, is not competent. In case same in case of insolvent. In case of an agent, he have to act in the capacity of an agent, and whenever it is necessary for him to sign, he should specifically mention there he's signing in the capacity of an agent. Can on behalf of a firm, a partner can enter a negotiable instrument transaction? Yes. And when a partner signs, it implies that all other partners of the firm also are having joint and several the liabilities. Okay, so these all we have seen yesterday. And in this case of C, in who is a holder, means holder is a person who possesses the instrument in his name and he have a right to receive the money on that particular instrument. Then you can call him as a holder. Next, holder in due course also I have explained you yesterday. And now, before going into this particular differences, let us see the privileges. Very, very important examination theoretical question. They will ask you, what are the privileges of holder in due course or advantages of holder in due course? If I explain you, then you can easily understand the difference between holder and holder in due course. Again, I need not explain. It's chala important, amma. Privileges of holder in due course లేదా advantages of holder in due course అంటారు. చాలా చాలా ఇంపార్టెంట్, చెప్తాను, జాగ్రత్తగా వినండి. నెంబర్ 1, ఓకే, ఎటువంటి సందర్భాలలో ఓకే హోల్డర్ ఇన్ డ్యూ కోర్స్ కి అడ్వాంటేజ్ అంటే హోల్డర్ ఇన్ డ్యూ కోర్స్ కి ఎటువంటి సందర్భాలలో అడ్వాంటేజెస్ కానీ బెనిఫిట్స్ కానీ వస్తాయి. ఫస్ట్ హోల్డర్ కి హోల్డర్ ఇన్ డ్యూ కోర్స్ కి డిఫరెన్స్ ఏంటో చెప్పాను కదా. ద హోల్డర్ ఇన్ డ్యూ కోర్స్ మెయిన్లీ టేక్స్ ద ఇన్స్ట్రుమెంట్ ఆఫ్టర్ సాటిస్ఫైయింగ్ 3 important qualities. What are those 3 important qualities? Number 1, he should take the instrument in good faith for consideration before maturity. అయితే ఇక్కడ in case of inchoate instrument or incomplete instrument, inchoate కి ఇంకొక మీనింగ్ వచ్చే ఇంకొక పదం ఏమిటంటే ఇన్కంప్లీట్ అంటారండి. ఇన్చోట్ అంటే ఏమిటో అర్థం కావట్లేదు మేడం. వాట్ ఈస్ మెంట్ బై ఇన్చోట్ అంటే డోంట్ గెట్ స్కేర్డ్. ఇన్చోట్ హియర్ మీన్స్ ఇన్కంప్లీట్. అండర్స్టూడ్? ఓకే, సో అయితే ఇన్ కేస్ ఆఫ్ ఇన్చోట్ ఇన్స్ట్రుమెంట్ ఈ పర్టికులర్ కాన్సెప్ట్ విల్ కమ్ ఓన్లీ ఫర్ బిల్ ఆఫ్ ఎక్స్చేంజ్ అండ్ ప్రామిసరీ నోట్. This particular provision is not applicable in case of a check. Please understand. Inchoate instrument is applicable only in case of a bill of exchange and a promissory note. This point is not applicable for check. Please students, while I'm explaining, if at all you have to note down, please note down these points in your running notes. Inchoate instrument ante emti madam? This is a stamped instrument. కంపల్సరీగా ఈ పర్టికులర్ ఇన్స్ట్రుమెంట్ మీద స్టాంప్ ఉంటుంది. అయితే చెప్పండి, ఏవి స్టాంప్డ్ ఇన్స్ట్రుమెంట్స్ మనకి నెగోషియబుల్ ఇన్స్ట్రుమెంట్స్ లో? వాట్ ఆర్ స్టాంప్డ్ ఇన్స్ట్రుమెంట్స్ ఇన్ నెగోషియబుల్ ఇన్స్ట్రుమెంట్ ఫర్ us? I have already told you, shouting from the beginning of the class, there are only 2 stamped instruments in negotiable instrument. What are they? Promissory note, bill of exchange. ఈ రెండే స్టాంప్డ్ ఇన్స్ట్రుమెంట్స్. అవునా కాదా? అయితే ఈ ఇంచోట్ ఇన్స్ట్రుమెంట్ అన్న కాన్సెప్ట్ స్టాంప్డ్ ఇన్స్ట్రుమెంట్ సిచ్యువేషన్ లో వస్తుంది. అదేంటో ఐ గివ్ యూ an example. Okay, for example, when you take a promissory note, who will prepare a promissory note? Maker, that is debtor. డెటార్ ఏం చేస్తాడంటే ప్రామిసరీ నోట్ ప్రిపేర్ చేసినప్పుడు సపోజ్ తను he took a loan, that particular debtor have borrowed a money of 8,000 rupees అనుకున్నామా ఫర్ ఎగ్జాంపుల్. ఓకే, 8,000 రూపీస్ మనీ అప్పు తీసుకున్నాడు ఏ అన్నవాడు బి అన్న వ్యక్తి దగ్గర నుంచి అప్పు తీసుకున్నవాడు. దేర్ఫోర్ ఏ ఇస్ ఎ డెటార్, బి ఇస్ ఎ క్రెడిటార్ లెండర్. అయితే ఇక్కడ ఇంట్రెస్ట్ ఎట్ ది రేట్ ఆఫ్ 10% ఇస్తానని చెప్పారు, విచ్ ఇస్ పేబుల్ ఆఫ్టర్ 1 month ఐ పే ఇంట్రెస్ట్ ఎట్ ది రేట్ ఆఫ్ 10% అని ఏ అప్పు తీసుకునేటప్పుడే బికి చెప్పి అప్పు తీసుకున్నాడు 8,000 రూపీస్. దెన్ బి ఆస్క్డ్ ఏ టు ప్రిపేర్ ఎ ప్రామిసరీ నోట్. అయితే ఇక్కడ ఏ ప్రామిసరీ నోట్ ప్రిపేర్ చేసిన తర్వాత స్టాంప్ అతికించాలి కదా, పర్టికులర్ ప్రామిసరీ నోట్ కి స్టాంప్ అటాచ్ చేయాలి కదా. ది స్టాంప్ విల్ కవర్ సమ్ వాల్యూ. there is, if you attach some stamp, if you should attach అంటే మనకి ఆ పర్టికులర్ లోన్ అమౌంట్ ని కవర్ అయ్యేటట్టు స్టాంప్ will have some value. Okay, suppose the total loan amount is 8,000, the stamp will cover that particular value to 10,000 అనుకోండమ్మా. అంటే మీరు అంటించిన స్టాంప్ 10,000 వరకు అప్పులకి కవర్ అయ్యే స్టాంప్ అనుకోండి. ఓకే, అయితే ఇక్కడ మేకర్ ఏం చేస్తాడంటే వెన్ హీ ప్రిపేర్స్ అ ప్రామిసరీ నోట్, he will not mention how much, what is the total amount which he would pay after 1 month. అమౌంట్ కాలం బ్లాంక్ వదిలేస్తారు. సమ్ బ్లాంక్స్ ఉంటాయి అన్నమాట. ఇన్కంప్లీట్ అని ఎందుకు అంటున్నాం అంటే అక్కడ బ్లాంక్ గా అమౌంట్ కాలం బ్లాంక్ గా వదిలేసి స్టాంప్ అంటించేసి మేకర్ సంతకం పెట్టేసి ఆ పర్టికులర్ ఇన్స్ట్రుమెంట్ ని పే హ్యాండ్ ఓవర్ చేసేస్తాడు. అర్థమైందా? In this particular in-short instrument, what will happen exactly means, maker in this particular case, he will mention that I promise to pay, but he will not specify amount how much he will pay. He will just attach it the stamp and he will sign the particular instrument and he will deliver it to the holder, that is the creditor of the instrument who have given the money. Here you can ask, no, here you can tell, no madam, if without mentioning the money there are chances that the creditor can claim more amount, no madam, and yes, there are chances, you are right, your answer is right, but still you know what, the stamp which is attached by the maker on that particular instrument will limit the amount. If the maker instead of writing 8,000 he told 80,000, no, 8,000 loan amount 8,000 బదులు 80,000 మెన్షన్ చేస్తే the instrument is not valid because there is a wrong stamp attached and the value of the stamp is covering only up to 10,000 rupees. అర్థమవుతుందమ్మా? the limit of the stamp ఎంత అమౌంట్ వరకు కవర్ చేస్తుంది ఆ స్టాంప్ అంటే ఓన్లీ అప్ టు ద 10,000 రూపీస్ వరకే కవర్ చేస్తుంది. అంతకన్నా నువ్వు ఎక్కువ మేకర్ కావాలని ఎక్కువ రాసినా సరే, సారీ, అంతకన్నా ఎక్కువ రాసిన క్రెడిటర్ మేకర్ ఇస్ నాట్ నో మోర్ లైబుల్ టు పే ద అమౌంట్ టు ద క్రెడిటర్. మేకర్ విల్ పే ద అమౌంట్ ఓన్లీ టు ద మాక్సిమం వాల్యూ ద స్టాంప్ ఈస్ కవరింగ్. అండర్స్టాండ్? స్టాంప్ అమౌంట్ ఎంత వరకు కవర్ చేస్తుందో అంతవరకే మేకర్ లైబుల్ టు పే టు ద క్రెడిటర్. ఫర్ సపోజ్ ఇన్స్టెడ్ ఆఫ్ రైటింగ్ 8,000, if the creditor writes 10,000, is maker liable to pay even that extra 2,000? Yes, he is liable to pay because the stamp is covering until 10,000. Okay, if the maker writes 12,000, sorry, if the creditor writes 12,000, will maker pay 12,000 rupees? No, he will pay only to the maximum amount of the stamp value, that is 10,000 rupees only. Understood? Therefore, here the creditor who is holder in due course, what is the advantage for him means he can claim the entire amount until the value of the stamp covers. And the stamp ఎంత వరకు కవర్ చేస్తుందో అంత ఎక్స్ట్రా అమౌంట్ వరకు క్లెయిమ్ చేసే రైట్ హోల్డర్ ఇన్ డ్యూ కోర్స్ కి ఉంటుంది అని చెప్తున్నారు. దట్ ఈస్ ఇన్ కేస్ ఆఫ్ ఎన్ ఇన్కంప్లీట్ స్టాంప్డ్ ఇన్స్ట్రుమెంట్. అందుకని దీని ఇన్కంప్లీట్ స్టాంప్డ్ ఇన్స్ట్రుమెంట్ అంటున్నారు. ఓకే, ఇక్కడ చిన్న ఎగ్జాంపుల్ ఇచ్చారు చూడండి. ఏ సైన్స్ ఇస్ నేమ్ ఆన్ ఎ బ్లాంక్ ఇన్స్ట్రుమెంట్ బట్ ఇట్ ఈస్ స్టాంప్డ్. ఓకే, ఏ అనే అతను బ్లాంక్ ఇన్స్ట్రుమెంట్ అదే, దేర్ ఇస్ నో మనీ, నథింగ్ ఇస్ మెన్షన్, బట్ ఇట్ ఈస్ స్టాంప్డ్. హీ సైన్స్ అండ్ హీ గివ్ ఇట్ టు బి. బి అనే వ్యక్తికి ఇచ్చి he asked B is an agent, he asked B, please go to C and give this particular promissory note and take a loan of 3,000 rupees from him. ఏ అన్న వ్యక్తి ఏం చేశాడంటే ఒక బ్లాంక్ ప్రామిసరీ నోట్ తీసుకొని దాని మీద స్టాంప్ అటాచ్ చేసి సైన్ చేసి బి అన్న ఏజెంట్ కి ఇచ్చాడు. నువ్వు వెళ్ళి నాకు 3,000 రూపీస్ పలానా సి అన్న ఒక ఫైనాన్షియల్ దగ్గర నుంచి తీసుకోరా, ప్రామిసరీ నోట్ ఇచ్చేసి నాకు 3,000 రూపీస్ తీసుకోరా అంటే బి ఏం చేశాడో తెలుసామా? ఇన్స్టెడ్ ఆఫ్ రైటింగ్ ద వర్డ్ 3,000 he filled it as 5,000 rupees. 5,000 ఇచ్చి 5,000 అమౌంట్ రాసి సి కా పర్టికులర్ ప్రామిసరీ నోట్, సి అంటే ఎవరు ఇక్కడ క్రెడిటర్, ఇచ్చేసి ఆ 2,000 తిను బి జోబులో పెట్టుకొని 3,000 ఏకి హ్యాండ్ ఓవర్ చేసేసాడు. అంటే ఇక్కడ ఆ ఎక్స్ట్రా 2,000 రూపీస్ ఎవరు ఎంజాయ్ చేశాడు? బి అనే ఏజెంట్ ఎంజాయ్ చేశాడు, హూ ఇస్ నాట్ అట్ ఆల్ పార్టీ టు ద ట్రాన్సాక్షన్. నౌ ఆన్ ద డ్యూ డేట్ అప్పుడు ఎవరు యాక్చువల్ గా సి కి పే చేయాలి? ఏ పే చేయాలి, బికాస్ ఏ సైన్డ్ ఆన్ ద ఇన్స్ట్రుమెంట్ దట్ హీ వుడ్ మేక్ ద పేమెంట్ ఆన్ ద డ్యూ డేట్. ఇప్పుడు ఈ పర్టికులర్ కేసులో సి కెన్ క్లెయిమ్ 5,000 rupees or 3,000 rupees from A. They're asking you a question whether C can claim 5,000 or 3,000. Means here what you have to say, right answer is according to the provisions of Negotiable Instrument Act, in case of an incomplete stamped instrument, the holder in due course, the creditor, can claim to the total value of the stamp covers. Suppose if the stamp covers the total amount of 5,000, A is liable to pay to C 5,000. If the stamp covers the amount of 4,000, then he is liable to pay to C 4,000. If the stamp covers only 3,000, he will have liable to pay only 3,000. Okay. So here C will enjoy the benefit to the extent of value of the stamp. Okay. Suppose if here in this particular case, A even though he took a loan of 3,000 rupees, but since it is stamp is covering to the extent of 5,000, and even it is in the promissory note, it is mentioned as 5,000, A is liable to pay 5,000 to C because of mistake of B. And here who is C? A holder in due course. అర్థమైందా నాన్న? ఇది వెరీ వెరీ ఇంపార్టెంట్. ఎగ్జామినేషన్ ప్రాక్టికల్ క్వశ్చన్ గా అయినా అడగచ్చు మనల్ని. లేకపోతే ప్లీజ్ రైట్ అబౌట్ ఇన్ షార్ట్ ఇన్స్ట్రుమెంట్ మీన్స్ వాట్ యూ విల్ రైట్. In case this particular provision is applicable only to a bill of exchange and a promissory note where stamp is necessary. In this particular incomplete instrument, we will not mention anything about the amount. Therefore, it is left as blank. The person who have to pay the amount on the instrument, that is either the drawee or that particular maker of the promissory note, okay, will attach a stamp to the instrument and they will just sign the instrument and hand over it to the creditor. Okay, and on the due date, the debtor or the maker is liable to pay to the maximum amount which is covered by the stamp. Okay, so this is all about incomplete stamped instrument, and you should explain with an example what I have given here. Any example you can write, whatever example you have in case of incomplete stamped instrument, you can mention. So this is the first advantage of holder in due course. Holder in due course enjoys the benefit to the maximum value of the stamp. Understood? Next, in case of a fictitious bill, this particular provision is applicable only in case of a bill. That is why they are saying it is fictitious. ఫిక్టీషియస్ అంటే డౌట్ మాట. ఓకే, సో ఒక డౌట్ఫుల్ బిల్, ఫిక్టీషియస్ బిల్ అనే ఈ పర్టికులర్ కాన్సెప్ట్ లో ఐ విల్ ఎక్స్ప్లెయిన్ యూ దిస్ కాన్సెప్ట్ వెదర్ ద హోల్డర్ ఇన్ డ్యూ కోర్స్ కెన్ క్లెయిమ్ ఆర్ నాట్. లెట్ us see once after I explain. Okay, generally bill of exchange, this particular provision is applicable to a bill of exchange. Now tell me, in case of a bill of exchange, who will prepare the bill? Bill ఎవరు ప్రిపేర్ చేస్తారమ్మా? సెల్లర్ అనే అతను బిల్లు ప్రిపేర్ చేస్తాడు. ఓకే, సెల్లర్ బిల్లు ప్రిపేర్ చేసిన తర్వాత ఆ పర్టికులర్ బిల్లు ని ఎవరు సైన్ చేస్తారు? హూ విల్ సైన్ దిస్ పర్టికులర్ బిల్? హూ హ్యావ్ టు సైన్ ద డ్రాయీ ఆర్ ద పర్చేజర్ హ్యావ్ టు సైన్ ద బిల్. అంతే కదా, యాక్సెప్టెన్స్ ఇచ్చి సంతకం పెట్టాలి. సైన్ చేసిన తర్వాత ఈ పర్టికులర్ బిల్ ని హోల్డర్ కి ఇచ్చేస్తాడు. దేర్ ఫోర్ ద డ్రాయర్, ద హోల్డర్ ఆఫ్ ద ఇన్స్ట్రుమెంట్ విల్ కీప్ ఇట్ విత్ హిమ్ అంటిల్ డ్యూ డేట్. డ్యూ డేట్ వరకు హోల్డర్ కావాలంటే ఆ బిల్ ని తనతో రిటైన్ చేసుకోవచ్చు, లేదా ఆ బిల్ ని వేరే ఎవరికైనా ఎండోర్స్ చేసుకోవచ్చు. అర్జెంట్ గా డబ్బులు అవసరమైతే ఏం చేయొచ్చు? ఆ బిల్ ని వేరే ఎవరికైనా ఎండోర్స్ చేసుకోవచ్చు. అండ్ రిమెంబర్ స్టూడెంట్స్, వెరీ ఇంపార్టెంట్ పాయింట్, ద టైమ్ ఆఫ్ ఎండోర్స్మెంట్ ఆర్ ద టైమ్ ఆఫ్ ట్రాన్స్ఫర్ ఆఫ్ ద ఇన్స్ట్రుమెంట్. When the holder want to endorse the instrument to some other party before the due date, endorsement should be done in this particular way only. What you have to do, either on back of the instrument or on a separate paper attached to it, what the holder of the instrument have to do, నేను ఎవరికైతే ఎండోర్స్ చేయాలనుకో పే టు మిస్టర్ సి ఆర్ డి అని స్పెసిఫిక్ గా మెన్షన్ చేసి యాజ్ అన్ ఎండోర్సర్ గా ద హోల్డర్ హ్యావ్ టు సైన్ ద ఇన్స్ట్రుమెంట్. Only when the holder signs the instrument and delivers it, then only endorsement will be completed. At the time of endorsement, the endorser signature is mandatory. Please understand this point, very very important in case of endorsement. For example, here in this particular case, A is a drawer. B is a drawee, acceptor. There is a transaction of 5 lakh rupees between A and B, for which B accepted and signed the instrument. And the holder is having that instrument in his name, is having the instrument. He's holding the instrument. Now, A want to endorse the instrument to C. Can he do so? Yes, he can do. Endorsement eppudu complete avutundi? Only when either on back of the instrument or a separate paper attached to it, A should say the contents of the pay the amount to C ani rasi specific ga A sign chesi C ki deliver cheyali. ఈ కేసు ఆఫ్ ఫిక్టిషియస్ బిల్ లో ఏమవుతుందో తెలుసా అమ్మా? ఏ తన పేరుతో సంతకం పెట్టకుండా he signed in a fictitious name, that he might sign in the name of P, Q, Z or somebody else. ఫిక్టిషియస్ పేరుతో సైన్ చేసి C కి హ్యాండ్ ఓవర్ చేశారు. C cannot know, no, C doesn't know whether he thinks P and A are same persons only, and he signed in a wrong name and he hand over it to C. Okay, అలాగా C నుంచి D కి వెళ్ళింది. Now tell me, the instrument is with D now. Okay, instrument is in the hands of D. Now D is having the instrument. Now tell me, is D holder or holder in due course? He is a holder in due course. Why shall I tell you? He took the instrument in good faith. For consideration, ఎక్కడెక్కడ ఇల్లీగల్ గా గానీ, దొంగతనం ద్వారా గానీ, theft ద్వారా గానీ D కి వెళ్ళే instrument. He got it in good faith for consideration before maturity. So D is a holder in due course. Now, when D approached B, the drawee, to ask for payment, approach అయినప్పుడు drawee ఏం చేశాడంటే, when he looked the instrument, he's also seen ఎవరెవరికి ఎండోర్స్ అయ్యాయని వెనక్కి ఇన్స్ట్రుమెంట్ చూస్తే అక్కడ యాక్చువల్ గా తను ఏ దగ్గర గూడ్స్ కొన్నాడు కదా, మరి ఎండోర్స్ చేసినప్పుడు పేరుతోనే ఉండాలి కదా, పేరుతో లేకుండా ఫిక్టిషియస్ పేరుతో ఉంది, పేరుతో ఉంది, నేను యాక్సెప్టర్, నేను ఆ పర్టికులర్ పర్సన్, ఈ బిల్ సమ్ ఫేక్ బిల్ అనుకుంటాను, ఐ డి నాట్ పర్చేస్ ఫ్రమ్ దట్ పర్టికులర్ ఫెలో, ప్లీజ్ డి ఐఎమ్ నాట్ గోయింగ్ టు పే యూ బికాస్ ద బిల్ ఈస్ ఫిక్టిషియస్. Can an acceptor, can a drawee escape from payment on a fictitious bill to an holder in due course? Mean ante NI Act antundi, the acceptor of the bill, the drawee of the bill should not escape from payment to HDC. First you pay to HDC, later on you file a case against that particular drawer in the court of law and fight against it. Okay, keeping this particular fictitious bill kada itanu sign tappaindani అమాయకమైన హోల్డర్ ఇన్ డ్యూ కోర్స్ కి పేమెంట్ అనేది ఆపకూడదు. మ్యాండేటర్లీ ఇట్ ఇస్ రెస్పాన్సిబిలిటీ ఆఫ్ an acceptor to make payment to holder in due course because he took the instrument in good faith for consideration before maturity. This is an advantage for holder in due course in case of a fictitious bill. In case of a fictitious bill, what happened here is the drawer has endorsed the instrument in a fictitious name, in a wrong name. Okay, in a fake name, fictitious and a fake name to endorse chesadu. The instrument is invalid, but still HDC can claim the amount on a fictitious bill. Okay. Now, in case of a conditional instrument or escrow bill. Okay, so what is meant by escrow bill? Now I'll explain you the concept of escrow. Escrow means conditional. When a bill or a promissory note, okay, when a bill or a promissory note are kept as a security in a bank for borrowing money. Okay, there is no transaction between bank and the particular individual. They just kept the instrument as a security. Here it is the escrow means giving the instrument as a security to some other financial or a bank, and keeping as a security you took the loan. Okay, and you kept the condition that until I discharge this particular loan, please don't transfer the instrument. If I fail to discharge the payment, please endorse the instrument. Okay, that is called as conditional delivery, and it is an escrow bill here. In such delivery, only when the borrower fails to make the payment of loan, then only HDC or the holder of that particular instrument have complete right to endorse the instrument and claim the money from somebody else. Understood? For example, A is a person who have a promissory note worth of 5 lakh rupees. A అన్న వ్యక్తి దగ్గర, హోల్డర్ దగ్గర, పేయీ దగ్గర 5 lakh rupees worth of promissory note undi. He have a worth of 5 lakh. What he did, this A went to a bank. He gave this promissory note as a security. Please keep this promissory note and give me 3 lakhs rupees as a loan. The bank have given him as a loan. Now, who is the holder of the instrument? Bank is the holder of the instrument. But what did A say? Until I discharge my debt, please don't endorse the instrument. You don't, even though you're needing of funds, you should not endorse the instrument because I'm paying you in time the interest amount. Only if I fail to pay, then only use that particular instrument. You can endorse that particular instrument. This is called conditional instrument or escrow instrument. Okay. So this is all about this particular point. What is the privilege, madam? Here, if this particular third party who is a HDC, the bank is a HDC, and if the borrower fails to make the payment, even though it is conditional delivery, he will have complete right to endorse the instrument. Okay, that is the third point. Now, fourth point, if an instrument is obtained by unlawful means or for unlawful consideration. Okay, if somebody have taken he have stolen an instrument, bill of exchange or promissory note or check. Okay, and this particular person has transferred this instrument to another person from whom he borrowed money. అటువంటి సందర్భంలో ఎవరైతే ఆ పర్టికులర్ ఇన్స్ట్రుమెంట్ ని ట్రాన్స్ఫర్ చేస్తాడో వాడికి దొంగతనం గురించి తెలియదు. వాడికి ఎలా వచ్చిందో ఇన్స్ట్రుమెంట్ తెలియదు. కానీ తిన్నే అనుకోని ఇన్స్ట్రుమెంట్ జెన్యూన్ గా ఆ పర్టికులర్ ఇన్స్ట్రుమెంట్ ని మళ్ళీ ఇంకొక వ్యక్తికి ఎండోర్స్ చేశారనుకోండి, దట్ అదర్ పర్సన్ ఇస్ అన్ హెచ్డిసి హూ కెన్ హ్యావ్ ఎ కంప్లీట్ రైట్ టు క్లెయిమ్ ఆన్ దట్ పర్టికులర్ instrument. Okay, if any negotiable instrument is obtained by unlawful means to a HDC have complete right to claim money on that particular instrument. In this particular case of unlawful, forgery is not correct. Forgery is not applicable. In case of forgery, that particular negotiable instrument becomes void from the beginning. Okay, simple example I will tell you in this particular case. Fraud ela jarigindo cheptaru. Suppose in a particular office, the manager have his own personal checks. What the manager did, manager for making few payments, ఆ మేనేజర్ ఏం చేశాడు, కొన్ని చెక్స్ ని బ్లాంక్ చెక్స్ గా సైన్ చేసుకొని తన అల్మారాలో పెట్టుకున్నాడు. హీ కెప్ట్ ఇన్ హిస్ అల్మారా. వాట్ హ్యాపెండ్ నౌ, the assistant of that particular manager observed this particular act. He took that particular check on which there is no name mentioned. In the place of pay to, this particular officer or the agent of the manager wrote the name to whom he have taken loan or to another person. He have mentioned the name of pay to D, from where this officer had borrowed the money. Sincerely, as if it is his own check, this officer went to D, from whom he had borrowed the money, and discharged his own debt. Okay, now that particular D, thinking that it is the check of this particular officer, he don't know whether whose check is this. He thought it's a check of the officer. He nicely went to the bank and encashed the money. Now this original manager who have given the check, from whom this particular check have been stolen, can he file a case against the D, or will he file a case against the officer? In this particular case, D, who have taken the instrument even though it is unlawful, for consideration in good faith before maturity, it is valid, and he can claim amount on the particular instrument, and for this particular person who have involved this fraud will be punishable, and holder in due course will get a benefit out of it, and the person who have involved in this fraud will be punishable under NI Act. Okay, understood? Though these are the few advantages we have seen in case of incomplete instrument, in case of a fictitious bill, in case of an escrow instrument, and in case of an instrument obtained and unlawful means. Now in this particular case, in case of original validity of the instrument is denied, what does it exactly means? Once the instrument reaches to the hands of HDC during the course of endorsement, the prior parties, that is the prior parties, endorsers, or the maker of the instrument, or the drawer of a bill of exchange, or the the drawer of a check, the acceptor of a bill, cannot deny the original validity of the instrument, cannot say that this instrument is invalid. ఇది చెల్లదు, ఇది పనికి రాదు అని హోల్డర్ ఇన్ డ్యూ కోర్స్ వెళ్ళిన తర్వాత ఇటువంటి వర్డ్స్ కానీ ఇటువంటి మాటలు కానీ అనకూడదు అంటుంది ఎన్ఐ యాక్ట్. అండర్స్టూడ్? Okay, what the NI Act is saying, once the instrument goes into the hands of HDC, the prior parties or the maker or the acceptor or the drawer cannot deny the validity of the instrument. Understood? Okay, now this is a simple point. It is very complicated. Simply you can write in one sentence. Once the instrument reaches to the hands of HDC, the prior parties nor the primary party liable to pay on the instrument cannot deny its validity. And simple you can write. Next, in case of payee's capacity to endorse is denied, it means what exactly? Even though it is in the hands of HDC, if you want to endorse the instrument, he can endorse it. The prior party should not stop him from further endorsement. He can endorse until he receives the payment. Therefore, it is payee's capacity. What is meant by payee's? Holder's capacity to endorse the instrument. In simple words, holder in due course or also have a right to endorse the instrument. That's all. You need not write the entire sentence. The holder in due course have right to endorse the instrument until he gets the payment on the instrument, even though it is before due date or after due date. Understood? This is the sixth point. The next, better title. Very, very important. Irrespective of the title of the transferor, even though the transferor, the person who is endorsing the instrument, if he does not have a good title, but when it reaches to the hands of HDC, he can claim good title because he took the instrument in good faith for consideration before maturity. Before I told you an example, no, the officer who has stolen the check of a manager, the officer does not have a good title. He is a transferor of the instrument to the HDC. The officer is a transferor to an HDC. He stole that instrument from manager and delivered to the person from whom he borrowed the money. Here the transferor does not have good title, but since it is going to the hands of HDC who took the instrument in good faith for consideration before maturity, therefore the HDC will get only good title. What the NI Act is saying, HDC will get a good title in this particular case. Irrespective of the title of the transferor, when the instrument reaches to the hands of HDC, he will get a good title. That's it. Okay, the last one, eighth one, liability of all prior parties. Okay, when the instrument is in hands of HDC, if the primary party fails to make the payment on the due date to HDC, ante dani ardham entante amma endorsement lo హోల్డర్ ఇన్ డ్యూ కోర్స్ కి డ్యూ డేట్ అప్పుడు మేకర్ గాని ప్రామిసరీ నోట్ లో బిల్ ఆఫ్ ఎక్స్చేంజ్ లో డ్రాయి కానీ పేమెంట్ చేయకపోతే ఇన్స్ట్రుమెంట్ ఏమవుతుందని చెప్పాను, డిజానర్ అవుతుందని చెప్పాను కదా మీకు నేను. పేమెంట్ చేయకపోతే ఎవరైతే పే చేయాలో అన్న వాళ్ళని ఏమని పిలుస్తారని చెప్పాను, ప్రైమరీ పార్టీ లైబుల్ ఆన్ ద ఇన్స్ట్రుమెంట్. ప్రామిసరీ నోట్ లో అయితే మేకర్ ఇస్ లైబుల్ టు మేక్ ద పేమెంట్ ఆన్ ద డ్యూ డేట్. బిల్ ఆఫ్ ఎక్స్చేంజ్ లో ద డ్రాయర్ ఆర్ ద యాక్సెప్టర్ ఇస్ లైబుల్ టు మేక్ ద పేమెంట్. చెక్ కేసులోనేమో డ్రాయర్ ఇస్ లైబుల్ టు మేక్ ద పేమెంట్ అండ్ సీ దట్ సఫిషియంట్ ఫండ్స్ ఆర్ దేర్ ఇన్ హిస్ బ్యాంక్ అకౌంట్. వీళ్ళందరూ కూడా లైబుల్ టు పే కదా ఆన్ ద డ్యూ డేట్ టు ద హోల్డర్ ఇన్ డ్యూ కోర్స్. వాళ్ళు పే చేయలేదు అనుకోండి అమ్మా, డ్యూరింగ్ ద కోర్స్ ఆఫ్ ఎండోర్స్మెంట్ ప్రయర్ పార్టీస్ ఉన్నారనుకోండి అమ్మా, హోల్డర్ ఇన్ డ్యూ కోర్స్ కదా ముందు ఇంకో 2-3 పార్టీస్ ఉంటే, దే వుడ్ బి లైబుల్ టు మేక్ పేమెంట్ టు హోల్డర్ ఇన్ డ్యూ కోర్స్. వాళ్ళు కూడా పే చేయలేదు అనుకోండి, అప్పుడు ఈ హోల్డర్ ఇన్ డ్యూ కోర్స్ ఏం చేస్తాడో తెలుసా, ఆ మేకర్ మీద కానీ డ్రాయర్ మీద కానీ అది ప్రయర్ పార్టీస్ మీద అందరి మీద కోర్టులో కేసు ఫైల్ చేసేస్తాడు. అదే ప్రయర్ పార్టీస్ ఎవరైనా పే చేసేసారు అనుకోండి, ఇంకా కేసు ఫైల్ చేయలేము ఉండదు, వీళ్ళు మళ్ళీ ఎవరి దగ్గర నుంచి రావాలో చూసుకుంటారు. Understood? Therefore, either the primary party should make payment to the holder in due course or prior party should make payment to holder in due course. If everyone fails, he can file a case against them in the court of law. Okay, so these are the advantages. These 8 points are different advantages for a holder in due course. In exam, if they ask you, please explain the concept of holder in due course and write advantages, you have to mention all these points, which are very, very important theoretical questions which they would ask in your examination. Okay, so with this, the concept of holder in due course and privileges of holder in due course is over. Now, next very simple and easy concepts we have here, right? Classification of the instrument. Instruments which are classified on the basis of their delivery. Bearer instruments, order instruments. Okay. And next, ambiguous instrument you have. Demand on the basis of maturity, demand instrument, time instrument. On the basis of transfer or on the basis of location, inland instruments, foreign instrument. And in short instrument, just now I explained you. Okay, these are other instruments, accommodation bill and fictitious bill. In the fictitious bill also is over. Okay, so before reading all this, let us see first is what is a bearer instrument. In the initial class itself, I told promissory note will not fall in the category of a bearer instrument. Promissory note is not at all a bearer instrument. The word bearer is not applicable in case of a promissory note. Understood? The word bearer is not applicable in case of a promissory note. The word bearer can be used for a bill of exchange and for a check. Bearer means generally if it is expressed as payable to bearer means the endorsement is in blank. You will not mention the name of the person. You will just hand over the instrument to that particular person or you will deliver the instrument to that particular person. Understood? This is about the bearer instrument. Order instrument means what? Specifically, whenever you prepare the instrument, you specify that pay to A or his order. తనకి కానీ లేదా తను ఎవరికైతే ఆర్డర్ చేస్తారో వాళ్ళకని స్పెసిఫిక్ పర్సన్ పేరు లేదా అతను ఎవరికి పే చేయాలనుకుంటున్నారో వాళ్ళ పేరు కూడా మెన్షన్ అవుతుంది. That is why they say it as a negotiable instrument is order instrument when it is payable to a specified person or his order. Pay to A or his order అంటే ఏ ఆ ఇన్స్ట్రుమెంట్ ఏ దగ్గర ఉంటే ఏకి పే చేయండి లేదా ఏ ఎవరికైనా ఎండోర్స్ చేస్తే వాళ్ళకి పే చేయండి అని అర్థం అన్నమాట. దట్ ఈస్ వై ఇట్ ఈస్ కాల్డ్ యాజ్ order instrument which is applicable in all the three cases. Bill of exchange ki, promissory note ki, check ki, మూడు cases ki ఇది apply అవుతుంది. Bearer instrument is not applicable in case of promissory note. It is applicable for a bill of exchange and a check. Okay. Now ambiguous instrument. This is a simple theoretical concept you can just understand. Ambiguity ante confusion. కన్ఫ్యూజన్ అనేది ఎప్పుడు వస్తుందంటే ఎటువంటి సిచ్యువేషన్ లో వస్తుందంటే నాన్న బిల్ ఆఫ్ ఎక్స్చేంజ్ లో హూ విల్ ప్రిపేర్ ద బిల్? సెల్లర్ విల్ ప్రిపేర్ ద బిల్, రైట్? Okay, if this particular seller will prepare the bill, there should be a buyer who should accept it and who should sign it. అంతే కదా, seller and buyer can't be the same persons కదా. If seller and buyer are the same person, there is a point of writing bill రాస్తామా అసలు? అప్పుడు బిల్ రాస్తే ఆ బిల్ చెల్లుతుందా అమ్మా? ఓకే, సెల్లర్ తనకి తనే అమ్ముకున్నట్టుగా ఎక్కడైనా రాసుకుంటాడండి? బిల్స్ అవి ఫేక్ కదా. కానీ ఎప్పుడైనా సరే ఎప్పుడైతే ఈ సెల్లర్ అనే వ్యక్తి బయ్యర్ అనే వ్యక్తి లేకుండా బయ్యర్ అండ్ వేర్ దేర్ ఇస్ నో అనే అదర్ పర్సన్, హీ ప్రిపేర్డ్ ఎ ఫేక్ బిల్. సెల్లర్ హిమ్సెల్ఫ్ ప్రిపేర్డ్ ఎ ఫేక్ బిల్ అండ్ హీ సైన్ ద బిల్ యాజ్ ఎ బయ్యర్. సెల్లర్ ఏ ప్రిపేర్ చేసి సెల్లర్ ఏ సైన్ చేశాడు, కానీ హీ సైన్ ఇన్ సమ్ అదర్ నేమ్ and he transferred this particular instrument to some other third party and borrowed money. ఎండోర్స్ చేసి వేరే అతని దగ్గర మనీ తీసుకున్నాడు. ఒక పి అనే వ్యక్తికి ఎండోర్స్ చేసి మనీ తీసుకున్నాడు. ఇప్పుడు పి ఎవరిని అడిగి ఫ్రమ్ హూమ్ హీ హావ్ టు బోరో మనీ? హియర్ దేర్ ఇస్ ఎ యాక్సెప్టర్ గాని బయ్యర్ గాని ఉన్నాడా పర్టికులర్ ఇన్స్ట్రుమెంట్ లో? యాక్సెప్టర్ ఉన్నాడా? నౌ హియర్ ద హోల్డర్ ఇన్ డ్యూ కోర్స్ ద బయ్యర్ the P, the holder of the instrument is confused, is an ambiguous, is confused about the instrument. Whether I should treat it as a bill or I should treat it as a promissory note, because there's only one person to make the payment. Here, who have to make payment to P? Seller only have to make payment because there is no buyer in this particular case. Now, in this particular case, P will treat the bill as a promissory note because here the seller himself had borrowed the money. Therefore, P will consider it as a promissory note. Okay, when here bill of exchange is by confusion, it is considered as a promissory note by the holder because there is no clarity of acceptor in that particular bill. This is all about your ambiguous instrument. So you have seen bearer instrument, order instrument, ambiguous instrument. Now next come to demand in time instrument. This is a very important. Listen carefully. Everyone have to please listen carefully. Once we see this, we can go and we work out few practical questions. Okay, listen carefully. What is demand instrument, madam? I told check is always payable on demand. Means whenever somebody gives check to the holder, nicely he can take the check to the bank and encash the money, or he can go to his bank and see that amount is credited to his account. That will happen within few days, within reasonable period of time. Demand means not immediately. ఇప్పుడు తీసుకొని వెంటనే విత్ నెక్స్ట్ 1 hour లో అమౌంట్ ఎన్కాష్ చేసుకోవడం కాదండి. హియర్ రీజనబుల్ టైం మీన్స్ రీజనబుల్ టైం మైట్ బి 1 day or 2 days, 3 days or 4 days according to the case made. Therefore, check is always payable on demand. Check is always a demand instrument. Ala kaakunda specific promissory note to bill. If you specify these words are payable on demand and specific గా మెన్షన్ చేస్తే on presentment, on demand and specific గా where the time fix చేయకుండా ఈ particular words use చేస్తే then it is called as a demand instrument in case of promissory note and bill of exchange. Promissory note bill of exchange లో specific గా amount when a maker is preparing the instrument, I promise to pay sum of rupees 10,000 to Mr. X on demand అని specify చేస్తే the promissory note is called as a demand instrument and there is no whenever X asks for the amount. Okay, it might be after 1 day or after 2 days or after 3 days. Whenever this particular X asks the money to the maker have to make the payment. That is why on demand is specific, on demand అని కానీ on presentment అన్న words కానీ specific గా mention చేస్తే that instrument would be called as a demand instrument in case of a promissory note or a bill of exchange. Okay, so this is regarding demand instrument. Then what is time instrument, madam? When specifically time is mentioned, period is mentioned, that the payment will be made after 3 months or payment will be made after 6 months or payment will be made after 15 days, payment will be made on a specific date, payment will be made after sight and the specific terminology use time on the indication mention cheste amma adi promissory note to bill of exchange ke vartistundi. Time instrument అన్న కాన్సెప్ట్ దేనికి మట్టికి అప్లై అవుతుంది? The word the time instrument concept is applicable only to bill of exchange and a promissory note. It is not at all applicable to check. Please understand, students. The word time instrument is not at all applicable to check. It is applicable only to a bill of exchange and to a promissory note. And you specifically say that it is payable after so and so dates or it is payable after so and so time, etc. And the word grace days are mentioned only in case of a time instrument. 3 days grace days are added to due date only in case of a time instrument. I will show you how to calculate all those things. Okay. So before explaining, I will just explain you this concept of how to calculate the due date. Since I explained you time instrument, now understood know what is time instrument. Time instrument and a concept చెప్పాను కదా ఇప్పుడు నేను. Okay, it is check is not a time instrument. Check is always payable in demand. I have mentioned it. Therefore, grace days అన్న కాన్సెప్ట్ చెక్ కి అప్లై కాదు. Understood? చెక్ కి grace days అన్న కాన్సెప్ట్ అప్లై కాదు. Grace days అన్న కాన్సెప్ట్ is applicable only in case of promissory note and bill of exchange. Okay. Now, if they specifically mention that it is payable after so and so days, it is payable after so and so months, you have to calculate the due date, and for the due date you should add 3 days. The third day will become your due date. Endukante ikkada negotiable instrument is allowing 3 days as grace days. Okay. Suppose if the due date is falling on a national holiday, on a public holiday, like August 15th or like January 26th, you should take the preceding day as the due date. Suppose ఇప్పుడు మనకి డ్యూ డేట్ క్యాలిక్యులేట్ చేస్తే August 15th వచ్చింది అనుకోండమ్మా, you should consider your due date as August 14th. Okay, అలా కాదు, your due date is falling on an emergency holiday which is declared by the India on the death of some president or on the death of some ministers. Emergency holiday declare చేశారు అనుకోండమ్మా. Okay, in such case you should consider the due date as succeeding day. Understood? If your due date is on public holiday, take a preceding day. If your due date is on emergency holiday, take the succeeding day as the due date, which is very important, students. It is asked for bit. Okay, so this is by calculating the due date. I'll give you few examples. See here few examples. Bill of exchange is dated 30th August, made payable 3 months after date. Now tell me, by looking into this particular sentence, bill of exchange time instrument or demand instrument? Time instrument. ఎందుకంటే ఇక్కడ స్పెసిఫిక్ గా బిల్ ఆఫ్ ఎక్స్చేంజ్ డేటెడ్ 30th August, మేడ్ పేయబుల్ 3 months after date అన్నాడు. సో the maturity date falls on 3rd December. The maturity date falls on 30th November. ఆగస్ట్ నుంచి 3 months అంటే ఏంటి? సెప్టెంబర్, అక్టోబర్, నవంబర్. సో November 30th is the last date. Plus we have to add 3 days grace days kada. Now your due date is on 3rd December. Due date ఎప్పుడు వస్తుందన్నా 3rd December your due date comes. So this is one example. See another example. Bill of exchange is dated on 1st June. It is made payable 15 days after date. So here they are not saying about months. There you should calculate here days. సో ఈ 15 days ఎప్పటి నుంచి క్యాలిక్యులేట్ చేస్తామంటే యూ కౌంట్ ఇట్ ఫ్రమ్ ఆఫ్టర్ జూన్ 2nd, అంటే ఆఫ్టర్ జూన్ 1st నుంచి క్యాలిక్యులేట్ చేయాలి. ఓకే, సో వెన్ యూ కన్సిడర్ 15 ఫ్రమ్ June 2nd, ద డ్యూ డేట్ ఎప్పుడు వస్తుంది మనకి? ఇట్ కమ్స్ ఆన్ 17th June. ప్లస్ 3 days గ్రేస్ డేస్ యాడ్ చేస్తాం కాబట్టి ద థర్డ్ డే ఆఫ్ గ్రేస్ డే, దట్ ఇస్ 19th June, you will consider it as a due date, because you are adding here 3 days grace date. 17th June plus 3, that equal 2nd June నుంచి మనం 15 days calculate చేస్తాం కాబట్టి 16th June plus 3, that equal to 19th June. 19th June is considered as your due date. Understood? So this is how you calculate. Next, when the maturity date is a emergency holiday, sudden holiday or a public holiday, I have already mentioned you. If it is a public holiday, take the preceding day. If it is sudden holiday, this is emergency holiday, you have to take the succeeding day. Bill of exchange matures for payment on 24th December. Actually, the due date is 24th December. And 24th December is declared as a death day of some leader. There is sudden holiday. 24th December is sudden holiday. And for some bill, you need to make payment on 24th December. Now, which day you have to pay? Madam, it is a emergency holiday, no madam, declared by the government. Can I pay on 25th December? And you all know, 25th December is a public holiday, Christmas. Then which day you have to pay? In this particular situation, when both the emergency holiday and a public holiday are coming together, one after the other, then you should pay only on succeeding day, that is 26th December. You cannot go and pay on 23rd December, because your due date itself is 24th. And suddenly when you are ready to pay, you came to know that it was a holiday declared by the government of India. All banks are closed. You cannot make any payment. Then what you have to do? You have to wait until next day. But next day is also a public holiday. Then you have to wait for one more day, and the payment will be made on 26th December. So in this case, emergency holiday as well as public holiday are coming simultaneously. This is how you will calculate in case of calculation of due dates. Okay. But one point you have to remember, where I am telling it clearly. If suppose here you see, when they have specifically mentioned that bill of exchange or promissory note payable after sight, if they use the word after sight, means after acceptance అని అర్థం చేసుకోవాలి. ఆఫ్టర్ సైట్ అంటే ఆఫ్టర్ యాక్సెప్టెన్స్. మీరు బిల్ గాని ప్రామిసరీ నోట్ గాని యూ ప్రిపేర్డ్ ఆన్ 2nd January, but it is accepted by the acceptor on 10th January, that he would make a payment after 10 days అని ఏమైనా స్పెసిఫిక్ గా మెన్షన్ చేస్తే, ఆ 10 days డ్యూ డేస్ ఎక్కడి నుంచి క్యాలిక్యులేట్ చేయాలంటే 2nd January నుంచి కాదు, 10th January. ఏ రోజైతే యాక్సెప్ట్ చేశారో అక్కడి నుంచి యూ షుడ్ క్యాలిక్యులేట్ నెంబర్ ఆఫ్ డేస్ ఫర్ ద డ్యూ డేట్. ఇన్ కేస్ ఇఫ్ యూ సీ ద ఇన్స్ట్రుమెంట్ స్పెసిఫైయింగ్ ఆఫ్టర్ సైట్, ద వర్డ్ ఆఫ్టర్ సైట్ మీన్స్ ఫర్ ద పర్పస్ ఆఫ్ క్యాలిక్యులేషన్ ఆఫ్ మెచ్యూరిటీ డేస్, you should consider it from the date of acceptance, not from the date when it is drawn. Please mark it as star mark, and please mention this particular point. Please note down this particular point while I am explaining. In case of bill of exchange or promissory note, when it specifically mentioned that it is payable after sight, means for the purpose of calculation of maturity date or a due date, you consider the date from the date of acceptance, not from the date when it is drawn. Suppose it is drawn on 2nd January. It is accepted by the drawee only on 8th January. He told he will make payment after 3 months. For the purpose of 3 months, you should consider from 8th January, not from 2nd January. Understood? So after sight means you should consider for the dates of calculation of maturity from the date of acceptance. Understood? Okay. So these are very, very important for calculation of maturity in case of a bill of exchange and a promissory note. Okay. So very, very important points. Now come to another type of an instrument. Inland instrument. Very, very important. Inland instrument and foreign instrument. The instrument which is not an inland instrument, which is drawn outside India or payable outside India on a person outside India, is a foreign instrument. But when do you call it as an inland instrument? An instrument is called as an inland instrument if it satisfies any of the criteria. ఇప్పుడు 2 criteria ఇక్కడ నేను స్పెసిఫై చేశానమ్మా. ఈ రెండిట్లో ఏదైనా ఒక్క క్రైటీరియా సాటిస్ఫై అయినా అది ఇన్లాండ్ ఇన్స్ట్రుమెంట్ అవుతుంది. ఓకేనా? సో లేకపోతే అది ఏమవుతుంది, రెండు కూడా సాటిస్ఫై చేయలేదు అనుకోండి, దెన్ ఇట్ బికమ్స్ అ ఫారెన్ ఇన్స్ట్రుమెంట్. Now tell me whether it is an inland. It is drawn in India on a person who is resident in India. This criteria satisfies. Drawn anna, made in India anna, okay. The instrument should be drawn in India or made in India on a person who should be resident of India. It can be paid anywhere. Okay. Leda. The second point is it is drawn upon a person resident outside India, but it should be payable in India. He can be a person outside India, but it should be made payable in India. Then you can call it as an inland instrument. Otherwise, it becomes a foreign instrument. Now, let's see a few examples regarding inland and foreign instruments. Okay. So, once we discuss this particular case law, we will understand. Now, to see the first one. Identify whether the following are inland instruments or foreign instruments. Okay. You should see whether it is it should be either drawn in India or the person should be resident. Drawn in India, the person should be resident of India. It can be paid anywhere else. Second case, we under it should be made payable in India or it should be drawn in India or made payable in India. They are saying. Okay, so once let's see this particular example. Number one, a bill drawn in Pune on a businessman in Chennai and accepted in California. See whether the criteria is saying satisfied. See, first one, it should be drawn in India. Yes, drawn in India on a person resident of India. He is a businessman resident of India. Payable anywhere else. It can be paid anywhere. Okay. So first one is inland instrument or foreign instrument. It is inland instrument because it is satisfying the first criteria. It is drawn upon a person in India and drawn in India on a person who is resident of India. Therefore, it's an inland instrument. Second one, a bill is drawn in London, drawn outside India on a trader who is a resident of India and accepted payable in India. Therefore, it is in the second case also, it is an inland instrument only because he is a resident of India and it is payable in India. Therefore, it is an inland instrument only. Okay, see the third one. A bill drawn in Lucknow. Okay, on a trader in London, drawn in India, but he is not a resident of India and accepted payable in Chennai. Okay, in first criteria is not satisfied because if it should be drawn in India and it should also the person should also be resident of India, but in this particular case the person is not a resident of India, therefore it is not an inland instrument. The criteria it should satisfy is it should be drawn in India and the person should be a resident of India. Then only you can call it as an inland instrument. See the last one. A bill drawn in Chennai on a trader in America and made payable in America. Only it is made in India. The person is not resident of India and it is also payable also. Payable anywhere. He is not resident of India. Last case also it is not an inland instrument. Okay. The first three cases only it is called as an inland instrument in order to satisfy particular criteria. And the last three cases the foreign instrument. Okay, so that it is because it is drawn, a bill is drawn in Chennai on a trader in America and payable also in America, it seems. Okay, therefore it is not an inland. In order to satisfy the condition of inland instrument, the bill should be made in India or drawn in India or drawn upon a person who is resident of India. Okay, so these criteria and it should be that particular person should be staying in India. Okay, so these are the important conditions in case of an inland instrument. Once again, I tell you the position of inland instrument. It should be drawn in India and made payable in India. At least that criteria should be satisfied. Or it should be drawn made in India upon a person who is resident of India. At least that criteria should be satisfied. If any of this criteria is satisfied, then it will be called as inland instrument. Otherwise, it will be called as a foreign instrument. Okay. Hope you understood. Please once again go through this particular concept of inland and foreign instrument. Okay. Now let's come back. Okay. So we have seen what are the when it comes to the we have seen types of instrument: bearer instrument, order instrument, ambiguous instrument, demand instrument, time instrument. How to calculate the due date also I have explained. We have seen this particular inland instrument, foreign instrument, and in-short instrument. Just now I explained when I'm explaining holder in due course. In-short instrument is also called as an incomplete instrument. When the particular drawer of the instrument or maker of the instrument just signs it and gives it to the holder or to the creator of the instrument where the amount is not filled, but they have stamp is attached to it. Such instruments are incomplete stamped instrument or in-short instrument, and this provision is applicable only in case of bill of exchange and promissory note. Okay, so this. And last, other two types are fictitious bill. Also, I have explained just now. If the drawer of the instruments at the time, that is why it is called a bill. This is provision is not applicable to promissory note or a check. In case of a fictitious bill, the drawer of the bill signs it in a fictitious name and endorse the instrument. Therefore, when it reaches to the hands of HDC, the acceptor should not deny the payment to the HDC. Okay, because the sign of the drawer is fictitious, he can later file the case on the drawer but not to the holder. The acceptor should make the payment to the holder. HDC have complete right to claim the money from the acceptor of the bill. That is all about fictitious bill. I have explained that concept also. Next, when it comes to accommodation bill, when it is coming to accommodation, very, very important, accommodation means helping. Here the word accommodation, this particular provision is also applicable to bill. Please star mark it, please keep it as a star mark, important for exams. This particular concept is just asked as a theoretical question, no practical area from this particular point of accommodation bill. అకామిడేషన్ బిల్ అనేది మనకి ఎక్కువ థియరిటికల్ గానే ఉంటుందన్నా ఎక్కువ ఎటువంటి బిట్స్ ఫామ్ లో మనకి ఏమి మెన్షన్ చేయరు. ఓకే, ప్రాక్టికల్ క్వశ్చన్స్ ఏమి రావు. అకామిడేషన్ బిల్ అంటే ఇట్ ఈస్ ఎ బిల్ విచ్ ఇస్ డ్రాన్, which is accepted without any consideration. For example, generally, in case of a bill of exchange, seller cannot prepare for him his own sake no bill. He cannot be drawer as well as drawing. In case of a bill, seller cannot be drawer and drawer. There should be some other person. But here, the seller is not having any sale. Seller వ్యాపారం చేస్తున్నాడు కానీ బిజినెస్ లేదు, సేల్స్ లేవు, డబ్బు కావాలి. బికాస్ he have to maintain his business, he have to pay his rent, electricity charges, maintain చేయాలి, డబ్బు కావాలి. So in this particular case, the seller can prepare a fake bill as if he have sold goods worth of 5 lakhs. Some stranger, a third party, a financier or a bank, okay, can accept the bill and sign the bill. But there is no consideration between them. Okay, there is no sale of goods at all. But he specifically mentioned on the bill, the person who is third party who is accepting and signing is specifically mentioning that he is signing the bill to help the seller for the purpose of doing the business. In order to accommodate the seller, in order to accommodate the drawer, the person is accepting the bill without consideration. Okay. And in case of accommodation bill, in order to raise funds, the third party or the bank is accepting the bill. Therefore, no seller will get money. He have to do business. And suppose if this bill is transferred to a HDC, if this bill is endorsed to a third party, on the due date, the acceptor will not make payment here because for him no consideration. Here is just for raising funds. He is helping out the drawer. Drawer himself have to pay the amount to the third party, to the holder in due course. This is very, 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 very important. Generally, in case of a bill, who will make the payment to the holder of the bill? The acceptor will make payment, no? Here actually there is no acceptor at all. The third party or the stranger is coming to help the drawer to raise funds. The drawer and the third party have prepared a fake bill. So that keep taking this bill, he can borrow some money from some bank. Okay, the third party is signing because he is helping out the drawer to borrow money from the bank or from a financier. Okay, now tell me on the due date whether acceptor will make payment to the financier or drawer will make payment to the financier. Drawer only should make payment to the financier because your acceptor role is just to help the drawer to raise funds. There is no consideration and no transaction. The acceptor is accommodating, helping the drawer to raise funds without any transaction or consideration. That is why it is called as an accommodation bill. In a simple common man language లో చెప్పాలంటే యాక్సెప్టర్ అనే ఒక పర్చేసర్ గాని థర్డ్ పార్టీ గాని ఆ బిల్ ని సైన్ చేస్తున్నాడు ఇన్ ద కెపాసిటీ ఆఫ్ ఎన్ యాక్సెప్టర్ ఆర్ ఎ పర్చేసర్ ఈవెన్ దో దేర్ ఇస్ నో ట్రాన్సాక్షన్ నో పర్చేస్ ఆఫ్ గుడ్స్ లేకపోయినా సెల్లర్ ని హెల్ప్ చేయడం కోసం అలా తిని సంతకం పెడితే సెల్లర్ ఈ పర్టికులర్ బిల్ ని వేరే ఎవరికైనా ఎండోర్స్ చేసి డబ్బులు తెచ్చుకోవచ్చు లేదా బ్యాంక్ లో దాన్ని సెక్యూరిటీగా పెట్టి డబ్బులు తెచ్చుకొని బిజినెస్ చేయొచ్చు కానీ డ్యూ డేట్ వచ్చేసరికి ఈ డ్రాయర్ యాక్సెప్టర్ కి డబ్బు ఇచ్చి కట్టమని అడగాలి అప్పు తీర్చమని అడగాలి లేదా డ్రాయరే స్వయంగా అప్పు తీర్చేయాలి కానీ యాక్సెప్టర్ వుడ్ నాట్ బి లయబుల్ ఆన్ దిస్ పర్టికులర్ ఇన్స్ట్రుమెంట్ ఇఫ్ సపోజ్ సెల్లర్ ఫెయిల్స్ సెల్లర్ మేడం సపోజ్ డ్రాయర్ ఎవరైతే ఈ పర్టికులర్ అకామిడేషన్ బిల్ రేస్ చేశాడో ఫెయిల్ చేశాడు అనుకోండి ఇన్ సచ్ కేస్ ద ఇన్నోసెంట్ యాక్సెప్టర్ హూ సైన్డ్ టు హెల్ప్ ద డ్రాయర్ విల్ డిశ్చార్జ్ హిస్ డెట్ పాపం తన అప్పు తీర్చేసుకొని హీ విల్ ఫైల్ ఎ కేస్ అగేన్స్ట్ ద డ్రాయర్ ఇన్ ద కోర్ట్ ఆఫ్ లా బేస్డ్ ఆన్ దిస్ పర్టికులర్ బిల్ దిస్ యాక్సెప్టర్ ఏం చేస్తాడు కోర్ట్ లో కేసు వేస్తాడు ఈ పర్టికులర్ డ్రాయర్ మీద కేసు ఫైల్ చేస్తాడు ఐ వెంట్ టు అకామిడేట్ దిస్ డ్రాయర్ ఫర్ రేజింగ్ ఫండ్స్ and he have to discharge his own debt. He asked me to discharge. I discharge. Now I want my money back, and he can go and fight in the court of law. This is all about your accommodation bill. So these are different types of instruments which are very, very important from examination perspective. This accommodation bill, fictitious bill, all these are applicable only to bill of exchange. This provision is not applicable to promissory note or to a check. The concept of accommodation bill and fictitious bill is applicable. That's why they're specifically telling it is a bill. Okay. So with this, we have differences. What is inland bill? What is foreign bill? What is ambiguous instrument? Insured instrument. You can follow these differences. We have also seen how to calculate the maturity dates or due dates are also over. Okay. So with this, the first basic element of negotiable instrument topics have been completed. Okay, we have seen so many topics until now. We came to know what is promissory note, what is bill of exchange, what is a check, what are the characteristic features, and who is holder in due course, what are the privileges of advantages of holder in due course, మనం చూసుకున్నాం, how to calculate a due date and how to calculate the maturity date we have seen, and what are the different types of negotiable instruments chosen. And tomorrow I'm going to start and explain you the new concept of negotiation and endorsement. Tomorrow the concept of endorsement will start. So please don't miss tomorrow's topic, which is very, very important, the concept of endorsement. And the mandatory question from this concept of endorsement will come for the examination. Please follow the first two classes and come to tomorrow's class for endorsement. We will discuss the topic of negotiation and endorsement tomorrow. Along with this, I have to explain you in case of a check, types of crossing also will be explained too. That is also very, very important. So tomorrow, two mandatory important aspects of negotiable instruments are being explained. So see you tomorrow. Take care. Have a wonderful day. Thank you so much and see you tomorrow. Have a good day. Bye-bye.